The film begins within the confines of a prison, where an inmate named Red finds himself incarcerated for a bank robbery. Initially sentenced to serve 5 years, Red's exemplary behavior earns him parole after just 2 years behind bars. His release from prison brings unexpected joy as he is warmly greeted by his wife, Chloe, who hails from France. Their daughter, Beatrice, has developed a preference for speaking French, influenced by her Mexican nanny, Lolita. Red, determined to reconnect with Beatrice, embarks on the journey of rebuilding their relationship upon his return home. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to an airport, where a Frenchman named Luc encounters a brief encounter with an immigration officer. Though this situation is swiftly resolved, the officer remains unaware that Luc is a psychopathic hitman who has entered the United States on a mission to locate his target. If the officer had known Luc's true nature, he might not have let him pass. The airport incident, however, is just the beginning of Luc's ominous journey. In need of transportation, Luc decides to skip renting a car or taking a taxi, opting instead to steal a car from the airport parking lot. Unfortunately, the owner of the vehicle catches him in the act and attempts to alert the authorities about the car theft. In a violent turn of events, Luc draws a knife, silencing the car owner forever. With no obstacles, Luc secures the stolen car and heads to a local bar. At the bar, the owner, Tom, recognizes Luc and is visibly shaken by his presence. Tom mistakenly assumes that Luc has come to kill him, but his assumptions prove to be wrong. Luc's true motive is to obtain weapons, and he discovers that Tom is involved in the illegal arms trade, using the bar as a front. Tom leads Luc to the rooftop, where a variety of weapons are displayed. Among them, Luc selects a few guns and decides to test one by fatally shooting a man on the street below without a hint of remorse. After securing his weapons, Luc returns to the bar, where he encounters Tom's friends. Without hesitation, Luc opens fire, eliminating all of them, including Tom, who is about to use a shotgun against him. Meanwhile, Red is at his home, gazing at a painting that once belonged to Chloe. Strangely, the painting bears a striking resemblance to the prison walls he left behind. Unbeknownst to him, Chloe has plans to exhibit this artwork at a prestigious art exhibition later that night. She earnestly wants Red to join her at the event, despite his lack of understanding when it comes to art. Later in the gallery, Chloe busily prepares her painting for the forthcoming exhibition. The gallery owner, Derek, takes her aside into a private room, where he attempts to seduce her and even proposes, declaring his love for her. "I love you, Chloe. My daughter is here, and I am married. I would do anything for you, even burn this gallery to the ground." Chloe, however, firmly rejects his advances and threatens to report his inappropriate behavior to her ex-convict husband, Red. Although Derek is terrified by the prospect of Red's wrath, the pain of rejection weighs even heavier on his heart. In a fit of anger, Derek warns Chloe that if her paintings don't sell that evening, she will be required to pay an exorbitant rent to the gallery. If she cannot afford it, Derek will confiscate all of her assets. Meanwhile, Red visits a pawn shop owned by his best friend, Leroy, who had also been his partner in the bank robbery. As they reminisce about their experiences over the past few years, an unexpected guest enters the pawn shop, a man named Ernesto, a police officer who still harbors suspicions about Red and Leroy. Seeing Red reconnecting with his old partner, Ernesto cautions him against any unlawful activities, reminding him that he is still on parole. After confirming that Red isn't carrying weapons or drugs, Ernesto leaves, his lingering suspicions somewhat validated. Once Ernesto departs, Leroy takes Red to a concealed underground room. There, Leroy reveals their loot, stored in a safe that is an identical match to the one from the bank they once robbed. Leroy challenges Red to open the safe, curious to know if Red still possesses the skills to crack it. Unfortunately, Red's time in prison has made him forget the art of safecracking. However, Leroy remains hopeful that with hard work, Red will regain his expertise. For now, Leroy uses a key to open the safe, revealing a pile of bonds worth $600,000. They plan to cash in their loot, but before that, Red insists on attending Chloe's art exhibition. Elsewhere, Luc spots another car that piques his interest while driving. He always gets what he wants, and this time is no different. After fatally shooting the owner, he takes possession of the car. However, his reckless driving attracts the attention of patrol police. Luc reluctantly pulls over but doesn't hesitate to shoot at the officer who approaches the vehicle, determined to keep what he now possesses. Later that evening, Red and Leroy attend Chloe's art exhibition, accompanied by the unexpected presence of Ernesto, the police officer who moonlights as a painting collector. Unfortunately, Chloe's paintings fail to impress the judges, who harshly critique them as flat and lifeless. Red is incensed by their comments and nearly loses his temper, saved only by Leroy restraining him. Meanwhile, Beatrice remains at home with Lolita, who has been taking care of her. It's already bedtime when an unfamiliar visitor knocks on their front door. Lolita opens the door to find a stranger who insists on entering the house. To their horror, it turns out to be Luke, and his purpose for coming to the United States is to hunt down Red. In an attempt to protect the young Beatrice, Lolita courageously confronts Luke. However, he dispatches her with cold brutality, treating her life as if it were inconsequential. Lolita's sacrifice, while tragic, allows Beatrice to escape from the house. Luke attempts to shoot her, but she manages to elude him, running far out of his reach. This unexpected failure to capture his prey deeply frustrates Luke, who is embarrassed that his target managed to escape, especially when that target is just a little girl. But he has no time to dwell on this setback. His primary mission remains the same, to find and eliminate Red. After an exhaustive search, he discovers an invitation card to Chloe's art exhibition in Red's home. Luke arrives at the gallery shortly after Beatrice's arrival, wasting no time before opening fire on the attendees, including the judges. Their blood splatters across Chloe's paintings, creating a chaotic scene. During the chaos, only Ernesto, who comes prepared with a weapon, attempts to intervene. During the intense shootout at the art gallery, tragedy strikes as Leroy is hit by a bullet, leaving him gravely wounded. As he teeters on the edge of consciousness, he manages to pass the key to his safe to Red. With a sense of urgency, Red leaves his injured friend behind and rushes to save his family. They escape in a car, but Luke, relentless in his pursuit, immediately gives chase. In the car, Red reveals to Chloe the truth about Luke's identity and the reason he's determined to kill them. Luke is the brother of Red's former comrade who lost his life during a previous robbery, and he blames Red for his brother's death. Luke's primary motivation is revenge. Red also confesses the existence of the hidden loot worth $600,000, stunning Chloe, who had believed the bonds were long gone. Realizing the bonds may be their lifeline amid the financial devastation caused by the failed art exhibition, Chloe implores Red to cash them. They head toward Leroy's pawn shop, where Red asks Chloe and Beatrice to wait in the car while he retrieves the bonds. However, as Red enters the pawn shop, Luke reappears, forcing them into the basement. Threatening the lives of Chloe and Beatrice, Luke demands Red hand over all the loot in exchange for their safety. Despite Red's desperate plea, Luke rejects the offer and shoots Red, plunging the situation into chaos. Amid the commotion, Beatrice inadvertently enters the safe, which Luke promptly locks, intending to asphyxiate her inside. Then, he chases after Chloe, who escapes into a nearby tunnel. Moments later, Red, surprisingly alive as the bullet had been blocked by the key in his jacket pocket, attempts to open the safe but discovers the key is damaged from the gunshot. While trying to calm Beatrice and help her conserve oxygen, Red's determination and focus return. He successfully opens the safe, rescuing Beatrice. Meanwhile, Luke returns and confronts Red, ultimately cornering him and holding him at gunpoint. In a critical moment, Ernesto arrives on the scene and, witnessing Luke about to kill Red, fires multiple shots at Luke, ending the threat. As Luke realizes he is mortally wounded, he pulls out a pair of bombs, intending to blow up the pawn shop and everything inside, including the bonds. However, the bombs malfunction, resulting in only Luke and the bonds being destroyed. With Beatrice saved and the threat neutralized, Ernesto decides to let Red go, understanding the extreme circumstances the family endured. He plans to report that Red had no involvement in the night's incidents. Ernesto believes his superiors will commend him for stopping Luke. In the final scenes of the film, Red and Chloe return home, contemplating their future and the challenges they face, wondering about the path they should take. In the aftermath of Chloe's disastrous art exhibition and the fire that destroys Red's stolen bonds, a surprising twist of fate occurs. Derek, who had been involved in the chaos earlier, returns to deliver incredible news. He informs Red, Chloe, and Beatrice that all of Chloe's paintings have sold for a staggering $300,000. To their astonishment, it turns out that the blood splatter from the chaotic shootout at the gallery gave the paintings an unexpected appeal. They dance joyfully, savoring the unexpected turn of events and the artistic success that emerged from chaos and adversity.